Roberto Carlos, the physics-defying free kick. Brazil, 1997. France's Fabien Barthez positions himself for a standard free kick. Then Roberto Carlos steps up with an unusual long run-up and launches the ball with the outside of his left boot. The ball curves away from goal, then hooks back like it's remote-controlled. Barthez doesn't even move. He's watching physics get murdered in real time. That free kick traveled 35 meters, bent 4 feet to the right, then whipped back left into the net. NASA probably studied the footage. Carlos didn't just hit free kicks, he commanded them like a conductor with a thunderbolt baton. His left boot generated more curve than a racing circuit, turning dead balls into homing missiles that goalkeepers couldn't calculate, let alone save. The man scored 49 free kick goals throughout his career and made crossing an art form. While others aimed, Carlos bent reality itself. Ronaldinho, the elastico. Picture this. You're a defender facing Ronaldinho at Barcelona. He's dancing toward you, ball glued to his feet, that mischievous grin spreading across his face. He flicks the ball right with the outside of his foot. You bite, shifting your weight. Then, snap. He flips it back left with the inside, leaving you grabbing air while he glides past like you're a training cone. The elastico isn't just a skill move, it's psychological warfare wrapped in samba rhythm. Ronaldinho perfected this Brazilian street magic, using it to humiliate world-class defenders on football's biggest stages. Against Real Madrid, against Chelsea, against anyone brave enough to get close. The ball would dance left so quickly that slow-motion cameras struggled to capture it. He didn't just beat defenders, he made them question their career choices. That flip-flap motion became his signature, turning defending into a guessing game where the house always won. David Beckham, the golden right foot, England captain, global icon, Manchester United legend. But strip away the fame and you're left with football's most educated right foot. David Beckham could bend crosses, free kicks, and passes with surgical precision from any distance. That right boot was a magic wand disguised as a football skill. Watch the 2001 qualifier against Greece. England need a draw to reach the World Cup. Beckham steps up to a free kick 30 yards out, whips it around the wall with perfect curve, and sends a nation into ecstasy. The technique was flawless, perfect contact, ideal trajectory, unstoppable placement. But the free kicks were just highlights. Beckham's real genius was those inch-perfect crosses from the right wing, floating into the box with enough curve to avoid defenders, but perfect pace for strikers. 265 career assists tell the story. That right foot could thread needles from 50 yards away. His wife still calls him golden balls, probably hinting at how his precision extends beyond football. But that's after-hours content. On the pitch, pure technique made the impossible look like just another day at the office. Arjen Robben, the inevitable inside cut. Everyone knew exactly what Arjen Robben was going to do. Start wide right, drive toward the byline, and curl it toward the far post. Defenders studied it. Coaches game-planned for it. Goalkeepers positioned themselves for it. Didn't matter. Robben scored 144 goals doing the same move over and over again, like a video game glitch that never got patched. Bayern Munich, Netherlands, Chelsea, it didn't matter which jersey he wore. The beauty wasn't in the surprise, it was in the execution. Perfect first touch, explosive acceleration, then that venomous left-footed finish that kissed the top corner like a guided missile. But Robben had another signature move, one that made defenders hesitate even when they knew the cut was coming. The theatrical dive. He'd feel the slightest contact and drop like he'd been shot by a sniper. Arms flailing, face contorting in agony. Sometimes it fooled referees and earned penalties. Other times, yellow cards for simulation. Either way, defenders had to think twice before getting close. He made predictability an art form, both with his feet and his acting skills. Sometimes the simplest magic is the most devastating. Robben didn't need tricks when he had perfection, and a flair for the dramatic. Lionel Messi, La Pausa. The world's most devastating weapon disguised as a hesitation. Messi dribbles toward defenders at pace, then suddenly stops for maybe half a second. But in that micro pause, everything changes. Defenders commit their weight, goalkeepers shift position, and Messi explodes past them like they're standing still. La Pausa isn't about skill, it's about time manipulation. While everyone else plays at normal speed, Messi operates in slow motion until he chooses to hit fast forward. Barcelona's all-time leading scorer with 672 goals, and so many began with that tiny hesitation that broke the game's rhythm. But when that pause creates the one-on-one with the keeper, out comes the chip, football's most arrogant finish. Messi's chips aren't just goals, they're statements. That delicate touch that sends the ball floating over diving goalkeepers like a feather on the wind, finding the net with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker. The chip became his calling card in crucial moments. The technique looks effortless, but requires perfect timing and touch. Too much power, and it flies over the bar. Too little, and the keeper saves it. Messi found that sweet spot every time, turning desperate goalkeeper rushes into highlights reels. That left foot would shift the ball slightly, then deliver the most casual execution of football's hardest finish. No tricks, no flicks, just perfect timing, balance, and the audacity to chip world-class keepers when it mattered most. Messi didn't need flashy moves when he had physics and pure genius on his side. Sergio Ramos, the clutch header. Not every signature move was skillful, some were just shamelessly devastating. Sergio Ramos scored 101 career goals as a defender, and the most devastating came when Real Madrid needed them most. His 93rd-minute header in the 2014 Champions League final against Atletico Madrid turned certain defeat into La Decima glory. The timing was supernatural. Down 1-0 with 3 minutes of stoppage time played, Ramos rose above everyone to power home Modric's corner. 92:48 on the clock, arguably the greatest moment in Real Madrid history. But this wasn't luck. This was a pattern. Camp Nou, 2016. Barcelona leading, victory in sight. Then Ramos appears at the back post, meeting another Modric delivery to snatch a 1-1 draw from the jaws of El Clasico defeat. Same season, UEFA Super Cup against Sevilla. Down 2-1 in the 93rd minute, guess who rises highest? Ramos forces extra time with another perfectly timed header, and Real eventually wins 3-2. December 2016 against Deportivo. Real trailing 2-1, their 35-match unbeaten streak hanging by a thread. Stoppage time arrives, and so does Ramos, a towering header for the 3-2 winner, keeping the dream alive. Throughout his career, Ramos specialized in these moments of pure theater. Defenders aren't supposed to score in consecutive European finals or consistently bail out their teams in the dying seconds. But Ramos made the impossible routine. When the pressure peaked and hope seemed lost, Captain Clutch would appear from nowhere, defying gravity and expectations in equal measure.
Johan Cruyff. The Cruyff turn. Netherlands vs Sweden, 1974 World Cup. Johan Cruyff receives the ball near the touchline with Jan Olsen breathing down his neck. He shapes to cross or pass, plants his right foot, then drags the ball behind his standing leg with his instep. Olsen keeps running toward where Cruyff was, while the Dutch master glides away in the opposite direction. That single moment created football's most copied skill move. The Cruyff turn looks simple. Fake one way, drag the ball behind your leg, escape the other way. But the timing, the disguise, the absolute conviction in that fake, that's pure genius. Cruyff didn't just invent a skill move. He created a philosophy of deception that's still teaching defenders humility 50 years later. Every Sunday League player has tried it. Most professional players have mastered it. But nobody executed it with Cruyff's casual brilliance. The total football pioneer gave football its most elegant escape route. Cristiano Ronaldo, the knuckleball, Manchester United, 2008. Ronaldo stands over a free kick 25 yards out, legs spread wide in that iconic stance. He takes 6 steps back, breathes deeply, then sprints forward and strikes the ball with zero spin. What happens next defies physics and destroys goalkeepers' confidence. The ball flies through the air like a knuckleball in baseball, dipping, swerving, dancing in unpredictable patterns. Portsmouth's David James, one of England's best keepers, can only watch as the ball veers left, then right, then drops into the corner like it's being controlled by a joystick. That run-up became iconic, that stance legendary. While others aimed for corners,
Ronaldo aimed to break the laws of physics. The knuckleball wasn't just a free kick technique. It was a scientific experiment that happened to score goals. But before the knuckleball mastery, young Ronaldo terrorized defenses with his signature step-over. That rapid-fire sequence of body feints and leg movements that left defenders dizzy and confused. The technique involved rolling over the ball with one foot while stepping in the opposite direction, creating the perfect illusion.
The step-over was pure street football artistry, but the knuckleball free kick was Ronaldo's evolution from entertainer to executioner. Ronaldo Nazario, fooling the keeper. Imagine being a world-class goalkeeper, representing your country at the World Cup, and watching Ronaldo bearing down on goal. You know what's coming. He's going to fake the shot, send you diving the wrong way, then calmly roll the ball into the empty net. You know this. You've studied the footage. Doesn't matter. R9 scored 414 career goals, and a ridiculous 88 of them involved him rounding the goalkeeper, turning elite shot stoppers into crash test dummies. That fake shot was devastating, a tiny shoulder drop that sent keepers sprawling while Ronaldo strolled past like he was walking through a park. Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Brazil. Wherever he played, goalkeepers started having nightmares. The move required perfect timing, incredible composure, and absolute confidence. Ronaldo had all three in abundance, plus that explosive acceleration that turned maybe into definitely not catching him. He made the world's best shot stoppers look like amateur magicians missing their tricks. However, his devastating knee injuries, particularly the complete rupture of his kneecap tendons in 2000 while playing for Inter Milan, significantly hindered his ability to round goalkeepers as frequently. The injury robbed him of the explosive pace and agility that made those one-on-one situations so effortless. At his peak at Barcelona, many of his 47 goals involved him rounding the goalkeeper before slotting the ball into the net, but the injuries forced him to adapt his game, though he never lost that clinical finishing instinct.
Peter Crouch, the unlikely acrobat. 6'7", built like a giraffe on stilts, and absolutely nobody expected Peter Crouch to pull off spectacular goals. Yet this man scored bicycle kicks in the Champions League, volleys from impossible angles, and somehow made aerial acrobatics look routine, despite resembling a collapsible tent pole. The contradiction was beautiful. England's tallest striker scoring goals that belonged in art galleries, not football pitches. That bicycle kick against Galatasaray at Anfield was pure poetry, from someone who looked like he should be reaching for the top shelf, not changing games. His lanky frame seemed to defy physics when he contorted into those impossible positions, limbs folding like origami to connect with crosses that seemed destined for the crowd. The technique required perfect timing and spatial awareness that his awkward appearance completely belied. 108 career goals, and many of them great. What made it even more remarkable was how he embraced the unexpected nature of his goals, celebrating with that infectious enthusiasm that made everyone love the big man even more. Crouch was celebrating with mechanical moves that somehow fit his awkward frame perfectly. The celebration became bigger than most players' entire careers, lasting until his 100th Premier League goal at age 36. Crouch proved that football's most unlikely heroes often produce the most unforgettable magic, turning limitations into strengths and expectations into entertainment. Paul Scholes, the Hollywood pass. While everyone else was looking for the simple ball, Paul Scholes was scanning the entire pitch like a chess grandmaster. Sitting deep in midfield, he'd receive possession, take one touch, and launch a 40-yard diagonal pass that would land on his teammates' bootlaces with laser precision. The Ginger Prince completed 2,618 passes in his final season at age 38, many of them switching play from touchline to touchline, like he was playing FIFA with the difficulty turned down to amateur. What separated Scholes from other long-range passers was the disguise. No obvious telegraphing, no elaborate preparation, just that sweet right foot caressing the ball with enough accuracy to make GPS satellites jealous. He could pick out a teammate's run from 50 yards away, while under pressure from two opponents, the ball arriving with perfect weight and timing that made the recipient's job effortless. Mathematical precision wrapped in ginger genius. Those Hollywood passes weren't showboating. They were surgical strikes that dismantled defensive structures with ruthless efficiency. While flashy players were doing stepovers, Scholes was threading needles, turning the entire pitch into his personal chessboard, where every piece moved exactly where he wanted them to. The quiet assassin with the loudest right foot in football history.
Andrea Pirlo's press resistance. Picture three defenders swarming Andrea Pirlo, certain they've trapped Italy's maestro. He receives the ball with his back to goal, drops his shoulder slightly, and with one effortless outside of the foot touch, glides away like he's walking through a park. The pressing players are left grabbing air while Pirlo picks out a teammate 40 yards away, with the casual elegance of a man posting a letter. This wasn't about pace or power. It was pure geometry and football intelligence. Pirlo used angles and timing so perfectly that defenders couldn't get close enough to foul him, his body positioning always creating that extra half-second of space needed to execute his vision. When they did get physical, he'd draw the contact, earn the free kick, and slow the entire game to his preferred tempo like a conductor controlling his orchestra. The disguised long ball was his true signature, side-footing 40-yard passes without even looking, making the hardest technique in football appear effortless. Pirlo whispered perfect passes across continents with the weight and accuracy of a sniper's bullet. He turned press resistance into an art form, using the opponent's aggression against them while maintaining that serene composure that made him look like he was playing a different, slower game than everyone else. Master of the dark arts disguised as casual brilliance. Sometimes the most effective way to deal with pressure is to simply pretend it doesn't exist. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, the Kung Fu footballer. Zlatan didn't just score goals, he performed acrobatic theatre that belonged in Kung Fu movies. Bicycle kicks from 30 yards, karate kicks in mid-air, back heels that defied anatomy. His finish against England in 2012, that overhead volley from impossible distance, remains one of football's most outrageous moments, a goal so spectacular it seemed computer-generated. The man scored 570 career goals, and half of them looked like special effects from a Marvel movie. Zlatan treated football pitches like his personal dojo, turning routine situations into highlight reels through sheer audacity and technique. His 6'5" frame moved with the fluidity of a dancer and the precision of a martial artist, creating angles and opportunities that simply shouldn't exist. What made Ibrahimovic special wasn't just the spectacular nature of his goals, but his absolute conviction that the impossible was merely improbable. The confidence to try such outrageous techniques in crucial moments separated him from mortals, creating a catalogue of goals that will be replayed for generations. Manuel Neuer, the sweeper. Manuel Neuer revolutionized goalkeeping by refusing to stay in his box. Watching him sprint 40 yards to intercept through balls like an outfield player broke every traditional goalkeeping rule and gave heart attacks to Bayern Munich fans worldwide. The man turned the penalty area into a suggestion rather than a boundary, redefining what it meant to be a goalkeeper. His rushing technique saved Bayern Munich and Germany countless times, reading the game like a libero while possessing the shot-stopping ability of a traditional keeper. But it also produced heart-stopping moments when he missed, those split seconds when the entire stadium held its breath as the world's best goalkeeper found himself 35 yards from goal with strikers bearing down on an empty net. His positioning was so aggressive that opposing managers had to completely rethink their tactical approach, knowing that through balls and long balls would be cut out by a goalkeeper who fancied himself as Franz Beckenbauer. Modern goalkeeping tactics exist because one German decided his 18-yard box was too small, turning the keeper position from reactive to proactive and forcing an entire generation to relearn the fundamentals of attacking play. Virgil van Dijk, the aura. Some signature moves aren't technical, they're psychological. Virgil van Dijk's mere presence changes how attackers think, creating what can only be described as aura defending, where perfect positioning makes strikers reconsider their life choices before they even receive the ball. His signature move is making world-class forwards feel like Sunday League players through sheer presence. The statistics tell an incredible story. Liverpool's defensive transformation after his arrival, the way prolific strikers suddenly looked ordinary in his vicinity, the number of attacks that died simply because players decided not to test him. That's not luck,
That's a 6'4" Dutchman who makes defending look like chess while everyone else plays checkers, anticipating danger before it even develops. What makes Van Dijk's aura so potent is the combination of physical dominance, technical excellence, and mental strength that radiates confidence to teammates while sowing doubt in opponents. Strikers who've terrorized defenses across Europe suddenly become hesitant, second-guessing runs they've made thousands of times because they know they're up against someone who's always one step ahead. Van Dijk has perfected the art of the psychological upper hand disguised as calm, composed defending.
Bruno Fernandes, the penalty specialist. Bruno Fernandes turned penalty-taking into performance art. His stuttering run-up, that confident stance, the way he sends goalkeepers the wrong way with casual precision. During his career, Bruno Fernandes has taken 68 penalties, scoring 61 with an impressive conversion rate of 91%. The technique looks almost lazy, a short run-up and placement that makes world-class keepers look silly. Whether it's Manchester United in big moments or Portugal in tournaments, Bruno's penalties carry the weight of inevitability. His psychological approach is masterful. That pause, the slight stutter, the way he reads the goalkeeper's movement and adjusts accordingly. He doesn't just score from the spot, he makes penalty saves feel like impossible tasks for opposing keepers. However, even masters have off days. His miss against Fulham in August 2025, when he blazed his shot over the bar, marked his 7th career penalty miss and first in the Premier League since December 2023. The miss came after an unfortunate collision with the referee during his run-up, disrupting his routine. But that's what makes Bruno special. For every rare miss, there are dozens of perfectly executed penalties that showcase why he's one of the most reliable spot kick specialists in the game. The confidence, the technique, the mental strength to step up in crucial moments, Bruno has turned penalty taking into a battle where he holds all the advantages. Andrés Iniesta, La Croqueta. Andrés Iniesta's Croqueta wasn't flashy, it was surgical. That quick push from one foot to the other, slipping between defenders like he was made of silk and they were made of stone. The move looked deceptively simple, but required perfect timing, touch and spatial awareness that few players possessed, turning tight spaces into highways with one gentle caress of the ball. Barcelona's midfield maestro used it to glide past pressing defenders, creating space where none existed through pure technique and intelligence. Against Real Madrid, against pressing teams, against anyone foolish enough to get too close, the Croqueta became Iniesta's signature escape route, a move so smooth it seemed to bend the laws of physics. What made Iniesta's version special was the lack of theatrics. No stepovers, no fancy footwork, just that subtle shift of weight and ball that left defenders grasping at shadows. He perfected the art of making the difficult look effortless, using the Croqueta to maintain possession in impossible situations while his teammates found better positions. The beauty lay in its simplicity and effectiveness, a master craftsman's tool that required years of practice to perfect, but looked like child's play when executed by someone who understood the geometry of space and time better than anyone else on the pitch. Johan Riise, the Thunder Cannon. Johan Riise didn't need big chances. He created thunderbolts from nothing. That left foot could generate shots that bent physics, scoring from distances that made goalkeepers question their positioning and fans question their eyesight. His strike against Manchester United, that swerving rocket that seemed to gain power during flight, exemplified his supernatural range. The Norwegian scored just 31 Liverpool goals, but several came from distances that belonged in different postcodes. His technique involved perfect timing, incredible power generation through his hips, and a left foot that seemed to be made from compressed lightning. While others waited for clear chances, Riise saw goal-scoring opportunities from the halfway line, turning hopeful punts into missile strikes. What separated Riise from other long-range specialists was the unpredictability. Goalkeepers never knew when he might let fly, creating constant anxiety whenever he picked up the ball 35 yards from goal. His shots had that rare quality of seeming to accelerate after leaving his boot, with enough dip and swerve to make even the best keepers look helpless.
That left boot was a weapon of mass destruction disguised as a football skill. Ruud van Nistelrooy, the box predator. Ruud van Nistelrooy scored 218 career goals, and famously, only one came from outside the penalty area. His signature move wasn't a skill or technique, it was being exactly where the ball would arrive, milliseconds before anyone else realized it would be there. Pure predatory instinct wrapped in clinical finishing, turning goalmouth scrambles into personal hunting grounds. The Dutchman possessed an almost supernatural ability to read the flight of crosses, the trajectory of deflections, and the timing of ricochets. While defenders were still processing what was happening, Van Nistelrooy was already moving into position, his internal GPS calibrated to chaos and confusion. Manchester United, Real Madrid. Wherever he played, penalty boxes became his office space. What made him great was relentless focus on the fundamentals, movement, timing, and an obsessive study of how goals actually happen. He understood that most goals come from confusion rather than brilliance, positioning himself to capitalize on the split-second hesitations and miscommunications that occur in crowded penalty areas. While others focused on fancy footwork, Van Nistelrooy perfected the art of being in the right place at the right time. That single-minded focus on proximity to goal made him unstoppable within 18 yards, proving that the most effective signature move is simply never being more than 6 yards from goal.
Rivaldo, the overhead artist. Rivaldo's overhead kicks weren't desperation moves. Those acrobatic finishes for Barcelona turned upside-down shots into signature statements that belonged in art galleries rather than match reports. The Brazilian's flexibility and timing made bicycle kicks look routine, scoring from positions where most players would struggle to make contact, let alone find the net. His technique was flawless. The positioning, the timing of the jump, the perfect connection of boot to ball, while his body contorted in ways that defied human anatomy. Rivaldo's overhead artistry provided moments that transcended sport. What separated him from other acrobatic goal scorers was the consistency and precision. These weren't lucky connections, but masterfully executed techniques that he'd perfected through years of practice. Each overhead goal was a masterpiece of athletic artistry, proving that some players don't just score goals. They create moments of pure beauty that remind us why football is called the beautiful game.
Football is more than goals and trophies. It's about those spine-tingling moments when genius meets opportunity. Subscribe if you're ready to relive football's defining moments, wild stories, and the genius that separated gods from legends.